As we mentioned a few symptoms of ascension in the previous episode, and promised one of the changes in both energy and genetic codes today. Right now, let's proceed to episode 3 before the messages from the Creator series, to gain a better understanding before the fundamental changes you often encounter. Please join us in watching. Youthful and limitless energy. As you pass through the period from 2012 to 2030 and heal your resistance to changes, you will begin to feel lightness and clarity most of the time. Your energy will increase and the need for eating and sleeping will decrease. No longer feeling sick and your body will no longer age. Initially, you may temporarily experience phases of feeling calm, focused, and in the flow of life, occasionally feeling like you fall back into the old agitated ego. Over time, these recurrences will become less frequent and shorter in duration. It is essential to surround yourselves with ascending souls and like-minded individuals. Creating a resonant field in your intended environment will actively assist you in reaching an optimal level of resistance. As you move into a higher vibrational state, changes in cellular structure will manifest results. In the eyes of trained scientists, the transformative pattern of DNA will eventually be discovered. At some point before 2030, some souls will begin to exhibit what your scientists call codNA. Biological tests will reveal that ascending souls will increasingly attain immortal strands and fewer mortal strands. But the aging strands will be replaced by eternally youthful strands in ascending souls. While there may be drugs designed to achieve this in everyone, such chemical catalysts will not become practical since souls rarely escape psychological negativity. To avoid being re-entangled with extreme freedoms or other destructive cellular mechanisms infiltrating the body. You often refer to this phenomenon as replacing old wine with new disease. There are no shortcuts to enlightenment. That is why you never get an instant enlightenment pill. Even if you developed such a drug, those vibrating at a high enough level to be attracted to it would ultimately have no need to use it. Others attempting to achieve it would experience a temporary state of enlightenment, but could not avoid falling back into duality due to their unresolved issues. There are ongoing discussions among your biologists and geneticists regarding the conversion of cells from mortal to immortal form, meaning a carbon-based structure to a silicon-based design. Most of your current devices are incapable of detecting these changes. When the transformation occurs at a significant level, they will do something noticeable, but there is still a lack of explanations for it. The idea of a biological life form converting its basic chemical codes from one element to another remains a vague concept in the minds of your mainstream scientists. In reality, your researchers have already discovered life forms with basic elements of silicon and lithium. As the ascension process accelerates, there will be more progressive biologists discovering this fascinating phenomenon occurring. In some children, scientists have found additional DNA strands or extra receptor structures in the DNA makeup not present in your databases. Of course, this is due to enlightened souls being incarnated on Earth from other star systems. The light receptive structures in the DNA of the ascending soul must self-adjust to harmonize with the incoming ascending frequencies. There is a complex program, part of the ascension model, to test DNA with the incoming frequencies. You can understand this as a quality analysis department and structure of previous signals, along with another department handling resonance. to make them compatible with these frequencies. The resonance field of the soul's thought includes many factors related to the overall state of the soul's evolution, level of awareness, environmental stability, or influences from other souls. At some point, scientists will calculate a soul's resonance field using advanced mathematical systems, such as multivariate nonlinear vector equations, to simplify our explanation of the ascension model program as much as possible. You can understand the issue as follows. DNA codes and keys hold at pathognomonic levels in thoughts passing through the soul's consciousness and subconscious. The model then generates a series of electrical pulses compatible with the unique frequency emitted by the soul's resonant thought forms. The ratio between positive, life-enhancing thoughts and all negative thoughts and beliefs is an indispensable part of the light quotient. This is the parameter mentioned in the calculations performed by the Ascension program. The result is a unique combination of energies commonly called the soul signature. This signature is then combined with the appropriate incoming frequency. If the frequency emitted by the soul's DNA cannot fully harmonize with the incoming frequencies, then imbalance will occur, causing disturbances in the soul's energy field. But if the frequencies are accurately matched, a resonance field is emitted, and the incoming ascending frequencies are encoded into the cells, which can then activate the part of the ascension model to resonate with the incoming signals. For example, if the incoming program contains instructions to place an immortal DNA sequence into mortal cells, existing and stimulating carbon atoms to add an electron to form a silicon configuration, then the program will attempt to create a resonance field with the thought level emitted from the soul. If the frequencies are compatible, the transformation will occur, usually with a specific number of cells in a certain area of the physical eye. The program has protective measures to ensure only an appropriate number of cells are converted into a light crystalline body. If too many cells are converted at once, the immune system and antibodies will be activated, and the body will view the transformed cells as enemies to attack or repel. This is one reason the physical body's ascension process occurs gradually rather than instantly. Although in nonlinear time, the initiation event is instantaneous, the physical world and its linear timelines tend to slow down after the quantum leap, much like the difference between light and sound due to their differing speeds. In other words, just as a human psychological state needs time to adapt to a new surrounding environment, the physiological components of the soul also need time to adapt to the new frequencies of ascension. The more resistance in the physical body, the more difficult the transformation process. Ideally, a soul simply allows the ascension process to occur at an optimal rate. But souls rarely reach a state of complete acceptance. You have been programmed from a young age to have certain psychological traits. There are various traditions, cultural beliefs, and social conditions, as well as ancestral legacies, genetic memories and memories from past lives. Additionally, there are beliefs of traditional practitioners who may convince you that the human body must undergo birth, aging, sickness, and death. These mortal programs are encoded into your DNA, and the activation buttons for immortality must appear before the ascending frequencies so they can be properly assimilated. In other words, you must embrace the idea of physical immortality, not to escape death or conquer the fear of death, but rather to understand the resurrection properties of the universe, and how these energies interact with the secondary law of thermodynamic entropy. What is seen as the tendency to slow down, erode, and decay in lower densities. In technical terms, entropy is understood as energy moving to a more chaotic state over time, like from electrical energy to thermal energy. The impact of the conversion work on ascension. When the 2012, 2017, and 2030 portals impact the Earth, the intensity, amplitude, and periodicity of the ascending frequencies will be such that these new frequencies tend to break through the resistance barriers of old programming and conditioning. If resistance is particularly strong in an individual, the ascension symptoms will be quite severe. In some cases, the incoming frequencies will trigger suppressed negativity by causing illnesses to manifest. The soul's ability to cleanse, purify, and release resistance is essential. Many souls have understood the purification process and determined whether they can or cannot withstand the increasing frequencies on Earth. If souls haven't fully learned the lessons for which they came to Earth and feel they need more time for their death experiences, to make the transition to immortality, resistance will cause blockages in the soul. The Ascension template program will then be temporarily removed from that soul. As a result, such a soul may revert to previous behavioral patterns and the default death programs will reassert themselves. Now that soul is free from the intrusion of ascending energies. Most souls who refuse the ascending energy sources will begin a rapid decay process of their mutation system. This is considered evident when the soul knows that the lessons it needs can no longer be found on planet Earth. Then it will prepare to leave the body and reincarnate on another world more integrated with its level of awareness. For souls ready for ascension, the new frequencies will begin at a low level and increase over time. A soul with an activated ascension template could complete converting 1% of all body cells to light crystalline structure in 10 years. However, the next 1% might take only 2 or 3 years and the next 1% just a few months. There has been debate about how many Earth years it takes for a soul to ascend physically completely. Theoretically, it's possible for a soul to ascend immediately, but it almost always takes many years. The typical time frame would be 20 to 30 years and for some souls 40 to 50 years. It all depends on how quickly the soul adapts to the new frequencies. Souls who spend much time meditating, making it a priority in life activities are the best candidates for a quick and peaceful ascension. If you're not psychologically attached to the thought of possible death, then you have an advantage over others who still believe what doctors might tell them. Therefore, not being emotionally and physically attached to old traps and material benefits of the world is necessary. Again, that doesn't mean you have to live a monastic life. You can be in this world but not of this world. Without energy connections to the mortal paths of the human majority, you are free to embrace the idea that the physical body can become younger and more vibrant. To summarize the biological changes you can expect during ascension, we can politely remind you. Beloved creators, your state of thought has a direct impact on DNA configuration. There's no separation between the outer world and inner state, unless you believe in it. If you don't see the inherent unity in both inner and outer reality, to be able to see the connection between the quality of your thoughts and emotions with the physical body. To adapt to the unprecedented increasing frequencies on Earth, most of your biological processes occur beyond conscious understanding. In what's often called the autonomic nervous system or automatic subconscious, you don't need to think about your heartbeat or how to pump blood through you. Ascension is similar. It's part of the automatic biological system. And if you're aligned within your being, nothing is needed except acceptance of this process. In a later psychology session, we've outlined the emotional and mental processes that seem to appear when you undergo ascension. Just as obstacles can hinder your natural ascension process, the psychological change is expected when you pass through the gateway. As we mentioned in previous sessions, the main psychological change you can expect when moving through the gateways is a sense of finality. A definite feeling that you will never return to your former path. Until now, you have been oscillating between your old ego self and your higher self. While many fundamental human aspects, you will not lose miraculously overnight. there will be a clear sense that something fundamental has shifted within you. You will not be able to return to your pre-gateway self. The old paths simply no longer work. One condition we are observing in the recipients of this message and in other ascending souls is a tendency toward more logical reasoning. The recipient of this message, for example, was born into an intelligent, scientific environment and took pleasure in being logical, rational and proud to come to Earth. However, in recent years, his left brain intelligence seems to have frequently shifted in the opposite direction, more toward a natural, intuitive approach to life. In rare cases, you have scientists who have a stroke and suddenly lose their intellectual capacity. At first this is somewhat bewildering, but very quickly these people discover they have great intuitive and spiritual abilities they didn't have before. An accurate explanation for this is because you have multiple selves working at different levels to help you make the transition. Soul fragments can be sent to various places on Earth to help you overcome crises or experiences. After a particularly significant Earth change, it will be very difficult for you to focus on immediate tasks, even if you are not consciously obsessed with that change. In other words, your mind is scattered and quite difficult to focus because you are thinking about what happened somewhere in the world. Although soul fragmentation occurs mainly when there is an immediate shock here and now, it can also happen when the shock is somewhere in the world and happens to people you don't know. It might be a good idea to use a soul integration technique after a major disaster or significant event occurs. If you are not directly physically affected, you are becoming more sensitive. This can be seen as either a blessing or a curse depending on your perspective. As you evolve, you will have a greater ability to change your sensitivity level at will. But generally you will feel everything more intensely. That includes human sorrow and pain. Sometimes this very much resembles suffering and therefore you withdraw, hide or flee. Instead, we recommend you invite the energy and presence of your spiritual guides, angels, archangels and ascended masters to help you return to your center, where you can radiate love and compassion for the created soul fragments of humanity. You are one with all life. Therefore, naturally you will feel the pain of life forms having a difficult time with earth changes. And the psychology of transition involves learning how to experience this oneness, while remaining emotionally detached from it. As we have mentioned many times before, embracing change is the foundation for readiness to ascend. Detaching psychologically and even invisibly psychologically from the third density world is part of the process. With gently setting all judgment aside, you are free to only embrace those aspects of life that are truly uplifting in all senses of the world. Although previous struggle has been an integral part of your soul growth, as a truly mature soul, you recognize the complete futility of outdated belief systems that claim struggle is necessary to achieve enlightenment. Now you welcome that clear understanding of the world of ascension on physical means. Because only a small group of souls achieved ascension when this world began, doesn't mean this cannot be achieved. Perhaps that was the circumstance before divine intervention, but now it lies within your destiny. Rejoice, for the requirements have been loosened to enter the truly free world. You don't have to go through the wheel of reincarnation forever like a mouse in a cage. The time of deaths and rebirths is coming to an end. Take good care of your physical body. Nourish your heart and purify your mind. Release all belief systems about lack, limitation and death. You were created in the imagination and identical to your Creator. Free and unlimited. From previous sessions until now, you have probably experienced quite significant changes in both mind and physical body as you pass through the gateway in the future. So what about what happened in the past? We will travel back in time together to understand these effects on your present and future self in the next session. Now, on behalf of the team, Yi Kwang wishes you all a cool day. Goodbye.